So this demonstration is going to focus on a really cool user interface tool called the Multiselect Token Control. It's a control that's been out for a while, but I am finding I'm using it more and more these days because it's very powerful. It looks great, makes your applications look great, and most importantly, it has the ability to really open up a whole new way of interacting with your application for your users. And it's really a fun control, pretty easy to implement, and I think, as you'll see in here, very effective at what it does. So the idea behind it is essentially a tool that allows you to select multiple items to be used for whatever purpose. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration. I'm going to actually contrast it with the checkbox control, which is a traditional way to select multiple items. So I'm going to jump into my development environment. And in here, I've created a UX, kind of my base UX. And in here, we have our panel card structure. And most importantly, we have a checkbox here. And the idea behind this checkbox is that this checkbox allows me to select multiple records and then use those selections for, say, filtering or submitting or something along those lines. It's a traditional control, been around a long time, works great, but has certain limitations. Now, in this case, I'm just using choices, in this case, from a database. So I'm selecting a set of customer IDs to show on the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here, and I'm using just pretty much so the out-of-the-box structure for a checkbox. So let's go into working preview. This will compile our user interface, and in a moment, you'll see our checkbox. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, we have our checkbox area. And what it's done is it's queried the database, and now it's given me all the different IDs in my database, and I can sit there and select them. And this allows me to kind of do random selections or selections where I'm not trying to select everything. And the checkbox works pretty good for that. The downside is the presentation. As you can see, as you get more and more things, maybe it's great with like 2 or 3 items, but once you get a lot of items in there, it takes up a lot of screen real estate. Now, I could expand this with more columns. There's a number of different user interface tricks, but the bottom line is it's going to take up a lot of space on your screen just because of the nature of how that works. Now, let's go ahead and explore the new way to do this. Let's go into Design. I'm going to go here to, in my panel card 2, which is my multi-select tokens, I'm going to in here, and I'm going to add in this control. I'm going to go over here and select Data Controls. And the reason I go to Data Controls is this is a data-driven control. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and click More. And then I'm going to find Multi-Select Tokens. It's about halfway down the Select Control Type list here. And I click OK. I'm going to go ahead and call this Multi-Select. And I'm going to click OK. So now it's inserted my new control there. So it kind of looks a little bit like a checkbox. So the first thing I want to do is I want it to consume the whole panel card here. So I'm going to click Fill Container. Now, if you want to, you could set height and width and control all that. Next, what I want to do is go in and actually tell it how it should be populated. So I'm going to go into Control Properties by either double-clicking on here or clicking the ellipsis button here. This opens up a very expansive setup that allows me to control the behavior of this particular control. So we're going to use SQL Query. Now, it could be done with static data or XBasic, which opens up a whole new world of capabilities. But for our demonstration, we're going to focus on SQL Query. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Connection String. I'm going to select the same connection string as my checkbox. I'm going to use fields from a table. I'm going to go to Table Name and select Customers. Now I'm going to go ahead and find the value column. So this is the customer ID, and the display column will be customer ID also, although you can switch them, which is really kind of nice in terms of how it works. And now I'm going to set the list display column, and if you'll read down here, this is an optional command, but it actually allows you even further control of what the user sees when they're interacting with the control. Now here you'll notice we can set a filter. We could actually pass in arguments to this filter. We could do record limits in case there's a ton of stuff. Really flexible. All the capabilities you would like to have in terms of what kind of data gets returned to this are done within the system. Now I'm going to leave the other selections just defaulted. We'll come back and explore those a little bit more in a minute. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to save this. Now let's go into working preview and let's take a look. So right out of the gate, you'll notice I'm taking up all this space here. But on the right-hand side, we only have a small amount of space that's being taken up. It kind of looks like a drop-down box. And in fact, it acts like a drop-down box. So I can just click this down arrow, and here are all those different records that came back from my query. So I can click Enter. Now you'll notice what it does is it adds in that selection. Then I can click another one here, Bergs, and then add another one in here. And there you go. And you can over and over. Now, another neat feature of this, and this is what I really like for data entry, is you can actually type a letter and it will do that kind of auto search for you. And then I just select that one and boom, it's added in there. Let's see under G's, so maybe Gotos. I'm using the keyboard to control this and boom. Now, the really neat thing is that essentially I'm doing the same thing as if I went over here and said, okay, Anatar, Bergs, and go down from there. As you can see, for the user, it's actually much easier. It gives you a tighter representation over here. And again, you can change it. And if you don't like the selection, you can just click this X button and it removes it from the selection. So it's a really nice user interface tool and very easy to use. Now, I'm going to go ahead and also want to show you how, hey, I want to get the values of this. So maybe I want to take those values and submit it to the database or do a filter or some kind of function with it. It's fairly simple. So in this case, I have a button here called Control Values. And when I click on that, what it's going to do is grab the values of this and display it on the screen. So let's go ahead and look at how we do that. So I'm going to go here to my button Control Values. I'm going to open this up, and it does an AJAX callback, and it calls Multiselect Token Value. That's the name of the function it's calling. So now we're going to go over here, and we're going to go, and remember it's called Multiselect. Let's go to XBasic Functions. I have to change that there since I didn't use the same exact name. But basically what I do is I just get the values that are in that field as values, and now I'm just going to throw it back as an alert. Now I could put a bunch of code in here to do updates or anything else, but this is what I want to do for right now. So I'm going to go back into Working Preview just to show you how this works. Now I'm back to my user interface. I can select a couple things. So we'll select this, select that, and we'll select one more. And there. Now notice I'm going to go select here and I'm going to click Control Values, calls that XBasic, and you'll notice that it turns this into a comma selected string of information and our comma delimited. Now I can take that comma delimited, insert it, extract it, turn it into a list, many different things you can do. So it's actually pretty nice in terms of how it works on there. Now, one other thing I want to do is show you that there's a lot of control over what you can do with this. So if I go back into here, you'll see first, again, determining what data populates this, I can use the filter and other information to limit it. So it's much like a drop-down box or something like that. But also you'll notice over here, we have a whole bunch of capabilities to modify when it's operating, how much of the screen should it take up? What kind of icon should it use for it? So you can kind of tweak and adjust it however you want it to make it look really neat. And you can use different techniques, like I was using it where it expanded the whole row or the whole width of the screen. You could have them as they're more little buttons, and I'll show you that in a moment. You can also keep the list open, so once you select something, you can keep it open. And you can also click on Change, so if you want to have it as they select things, immediately trigger, say, a filter function or something else, that's really neat. You don't have to wait and then click a button. Every time they select a new item, you could trigger a XBasic function to maybe filter a list or to update something or do something along those lines. So just to show you how you can change a little bit of the look feel, I'm going to get rid of this fill container. And let's go ahead and go back in here after I save it there and show you what it looks like here. So I'm going to click Working Preview and we'll go back in. So you'll notice I'm taking less space. It's got a little title here, so it's more of a tradition field. I'll go ahead and select a few things, and you'll notice in this case, which I kind of like, you'll notice as I select the items, it's adding them as sort of what are tags. So this is similar to like if you're using Gmail or something like that. So it's even a more compact representation on your screen than what I had it before when I filled the container and had the full row available there. And again, everything else works the same. It's grabbing those and do it from there. So that is called the multi-select token control. Really recommend you take a look at it. It's easy to implement and it is really powerful. And the more I use it, the more reasons I find to use it in different situations with my project implementations.